Have you ever come across an actor so rugged, so unapologetically raw, that even a single glance tells you they've lived the kind of life we only read about in history books? That's exactly the impression Lee Marvin leaves on anyone who watches his films. Born in 1924, Lee Marvin was more than just a Hollywood tough guy. He was also a former U.S. Marine who served in the Pacific during World War II. When he returned home, he carried with him not just the physical scars of battle, but also a distinct sense of hardened realism that made its way into every role he took on. His screen presence was magnetic. There was something quietly intense about Marvin, as if he were constantly wrestling with unseen demons beneath that stony exterior. What truly set him apart was his ability to add layers of surprising depth to characters that might otherwise have been just another face in a gritty Western or a tough war film. Whether he was playing a quick-tempered cowboy, a rebellious mercenary, or a morally ambiguous soldier, Lee Marvin always had an underlying hint of humanity. Sometimes it manifested as a dark sense of humor, other times as a sudden flash of compassion. But it was always there, reminding us that even the hardest of men might still have a heartbeat. He passed away in 1987 at the age of 63, leaving behind an unforgettable cinematic legacy that has influenced generations of action stars, neo-noir anti-heroes, and Western icons. Today, we're counting down the top 10 best movies of Lee Marvin. Each film not only showcases his trademark intensity, but also reveals a surprising amount of range. From comedic twists to wartime dramas to haunting neo-noir revenges, these films underline why Lee Marvin remains a towering figure in cinema history. Ready to explore the gritty, shadowy, and sometimes unexpectedly humorous corners of Lee Marvin's filmography? Let's get started. Kicking off our list at number 10 is Paint Your Wagon, a 1969 musical western that might raise a few eyebrows if you're only familiar with Lee Marvin's tougher roles. This is not your average western filled with gunfights and dusty showdowns. Instead, it's a whimsical, offbeat take on gold rush life. Marvin plays Ben Rumson, a rough-around-the-edges prospector who nonetheless has a surprisingly warm heart beneath his gruff exterior. Many fans are amazed to discover this musical side to Marvin, especially because he's so known for his stoic, no-nonsense attitude. Yet, there's something incredibly charming about seeing him step into a lighter role. His singing voice may not be that of a polished Broadway star, but it fits the unvarnished realism he brought to everything else in his career. The story revolves around two miners who end up sharing a wife in a makeshift frontier town. Yes, you heard that right. It's a strange premise, but it sets the stage for comedic situations and a lot of unorthodox romance. While this film might not be considered Marvin's most iconic performance, it offers a fun, genre-bending look at what an actor of his caliber can do. If you've ever wanted to see the tough guy of westerns show a little heart and humor, complete with a tune or two, Paint Your Wagon is definitely worth your time. Think of it as a fascinating detour in a career otherwise filled with hardened outlaws and war-weary soldiers. Sliding into the 9th spot, we have Prime Cut from 1972, a film that feels like you've stumbled upon a dark back alley of American cinema. In this grimy, crime-laced drama, Marvin plays Nick Devlin, a mob enforcer sent to collect debts from a ruthless criminal operation in the heartland. What unfolds is a violent, sometimes grotesquely humorous confrontation with an underworld that deals in everything from livestock to human trafficking. One of the movie's standout elements is just how unflinching it is in depicting corruption. At times, the film even edges into black comedy as it highlights the absurdity of treating human lives like commodities. Marvin's presence grounds it all. He's the battered but still lethal figure who knows how to navigate the nastiest corners of the underworld without losing his wits. Despite its sleazy underpinnings, the film has moments that comment on morality and the fragility of human dignity. Marvin's character isn't squeaky clean, but compared to the villains he's up against, he's practically a saint, and he carries that responsibility with a sense of grim determination. If you're in the mood for something edgy and off the beaten path in Lee Marvin's repertoire, Prime Cut offers a raw, unfiltered look at why his tough guy image still resonates. It's proof that Marvin could tackle crime dramas with as much authenticity as any Western or war movie. For our 8th spot, we jump to The Big Red One, 1980, a film that brings Lee Marvin back to familiar territory, The Battlefield. Directed by Samuel Fuller, who himself was a decorated World War II veteran, this movie is part gritty war epic and part intimate memoir. Marvin plays the unnamed sergeant, an older soldier leading a squad of younger men across multiple theaters of World War II, from North Africa to Europe. The role hits close to home, given Marvin's real-life experience in the Pacific, and you can sense the authenticity bleeding through in his performance. Have you ever wondered what it's truly like to carry the burden of leadership in a war that feels endless? Marvin's sergeant is worn down by battle, but he's not broken. Instead, he's someone who understands the cost of war, both in terms of human lives and emotional trauma, and who tries to keep his squad alive with a mix of stoicism and fatherly concern. The younger soldiers look to him for guidance, not because he's an inspirational speech giver, but because he simply refuses to give up. You see that in his eyes, in the way he orders them to keep moving, keep surviving. The movie itself stands out for its raw depiction of combat. It doesn't romanticize heroism. Instead, it shows you the grinding, day-by-day struggle of men just trying to see tomorrow. Marvin's presence embodies that perfectly. His character's subdued nature is a testament to what a man becomes when he's seen too much death, yet must press on. If you're a fan of war films that pull no punches and prefer realism over glory, then The Big Red One should be high on your must-watch list. It captures a slice of World War II that feels lived in and authentic, anchored by Lee Marvin's world-weary gravitas. At number 7, we have The Professionals, 1966, an action drama that lures you in with its premise of a rescue mission in the Mexican desert, then surprises you with its deeper questions about honor, loyalty, and personal codes. Marvin stars as Henry Rico Farden, leading a small team of specialized mercenaries into a treacherous mission, retrieving a wealthy rancher's kidnapped wife from the clutches of a revolutionary. But like many of Marvin's best films, things aren't as straightforward as they seem. The Professionals offers a unique spin on the standard mercenary story by delving into each character's motivations. While the shootouts and stunts deliver plenty of adrenaline, it's the interplay among the team members and the moral ambiguities they face that sets the film apart. Marvin's character, in particular, embodies a practical approach to war and survival. He's seen it all, done it all, and is wise enough to know that ideals rarely line up with reality. Lee Marvin strikes a balance between a man who follows orders and one who questions their moral weight. His scenes crackle with tension, especially when loyalties shift and secrets come to light. If you're intrigued by stories of specialized teams, reminiscent of modern action thrillers, you might be surprised at how much The Professionals paved the way for the ragtag group on a mission formula. It's a classic that blends excitement with introspective themes, exactly what you'd expect from a film starring the ever-complex Lee Marvin. Coming in at number 6 is Hell in the Pacific, 1968, a film that strips war down to its most intimate and psychologically charged elements. Marvin teams up with Japanese icon Toshiro Mifune in a story about two WPT soldiers, one American, one Japanese, who find themselves marooned on the same uninhabited island. With almost no one else on screen, you might wonder, How do they keep the tension alive? The answer, purely through the palpable dynamic between these two powerhouse actors. It's fascinating to see how both men try to survive and outwit each other at first. Their nationalities and the war have made them enemies, but gradually the necessity of survival forces them into an uneasy truce. Lee Marvin's role calls on him to convey a range of emotions, from seething hatred to grudging respect, often without uttering a single word in his counterpart's language. Directed by John Boorman, the film relies heavily on the physical performances of Mifune and Marvin. Every glare, every maneuver, every reluctant gesture of goodwill takes on monumental significance. This minimalist setup highlights Marvin's ability to communicate conflict and camaraderie through body language alone. If you're in the mood for a war film that trades massive battle scenes for profound psychological warfare, Hell in the Pacific is one of Lee Marvin's most intriguing and underappreciated gems. Our fifth selection is Emperor of the North, 1973, a gritty, unrelenting drama set during the Great Depression. Marvin plays a number one, a legendary hobo who hops freight trains to survive. But on a particular train route, a ruthless conductor named Shaq, played by Ernest Borgnine, has made it his personal mission to keep hobos off his train at any cost. What ensues is a brutal, high-stakes duel of wills. Have you ever watched two forces collide so powerfully that you wonder if either will walk away in one piece? There's an almost mythic quality to this showdown. A number one represents freedom, resilience, and a refusal to conform. He's the embodiment of a spirit that won't be crushed by economic hardship or authoritarian control. Shaq, on the other hand, symbolizes unyielding authority, a man who sees the train as his domain to rule with an iron fist. In typical Lee Marvin fashion, a number one rarely speaks more than necessary, but every action, from how he sizes up the tracks to the fearless way he confronts Shaq, tells you everything you need to know about his character. The film also explores broader themes like dignity, survival, and what it means to preserve your sense of self in a world determined to label you a nobody. Marvin's rugged authenticity is perfect for this kind of role. You genuinely believe he's a drifter who's been riding the rails for years. Emperor of the North stands as a testament to how Marvin could shine in any gritty, confrontational scenario. If you appreciate tense showdowns that feel like moral battlegrounds, this is a must-watch. Sliding into fourth place, we have The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, 1962. This John Ford classic stars John Wayne and James Stewart, but Lee Marvin's portrayal of the sadistic outlaw Liberty Valance sears itself into your memory. Even though Marvin isn't in every scene, his menacing presence looms large throughout the story. As Liberty Valance, he's not just a random thug. He's the embodiment of a brutal, lawless West, standing in stark contrast to a more civilized rule-of-law frontier championed by Stewart's character. Many fans recognize this film as a masterpiece that deconstructs the myth of the Old West. Have you ever heard the phrase, "When the legend becomes fact, print the legend"? That line comes from this very movie. Liberty Valance is a big part of that legend, an unapologetic antagonist who wields violence like a twisted form of power. Marvin's performance is so chilling that you genuinely feel relief whenever he's not on screen, and apprehension the moment he reappears. Despite being a supporting role, this was a watershed moment for Marvin, showcasing his talent at creating characters that feel dangerous and unpredictable. He radiates the kind of raw menace that few actors can convincingly pull off without tipping into cartoonishness. If you love classic westerns but crave an undercurrent of psychological tension, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance deserves your full attention. It's proof that Lee Marvin could dominate a film even among icons like Wayne and Stewart, cementing his status as one of cinema's most memorable tough guys. At number 3, get ready for a comedic left turn with Cat Ballou, 1965. In a delightful twist on his usual stoic persona, Lee Marvin plays not one but two roles: Kid Shalene, a washed-up, drunken gunslinger, and his cold-blooded doppelganger Tim Strawn, a silver-nosed assassin. This role won Marvin an Academy Award for Best Actor, and it's not hard to see why. He effortlessly flips between hilarious self-parody and chilling brutality, sometimes in the very same scene. Have you ever seen someone so plastered they can't stay upright, yet still manage to come across as oddly heroic? That's Kid Shalene in a nutshell. Marvin's comedic timing is impeccable, particularly in scenes where his character attempts to pull himself together for a showdown. The transformation from a stumbling buffoon to a formidable gunslinger keeps you on the edge of your seat. Meanwhile, Tim Strawn is practically the polar opposite: eerie, lethal, and almost supernaturally menacing. Watching Marvin juggle these two extremes in one film is a master class in acting range. Cat Ballou itself is a rollicking Western comedy that also plays as a sly satire of the genre's tropes. If you're interested in seeing Marvin's more playful side, or you simply crave a Western that'll make you laugh as much as it thrills, Cat Ballou is an absolute must. His Oscar win sealed this performance in cinematic history, proving that Lee Marvin could be both irreverently funny and genuinely terrifying at the same time. Coming in second is The Dirty Dozen, 1967, a film that cemented Lee Marvin's reputation as the go-to actor for tough, rule-breaking authority figures. Here, he plays Major John Reisman, an abrasive U.S. Army officer tasked with an impossible mission: train a band of condemned soldiers for a high-risk assault behind enemy lines. The result is a gritty war movie that also serves up complex commentary on morality, leadership, and the expendability of men in combat. Have you ever wondered what happens when you take soldiers who have nothing left to lose and give them a suicide mission? The tension in The Dirty Dozen lies in whether this ragtag team will self-destruct or rise above their individual vices to accomplish something heroic. Marvin's Major Reisman is the catalyst for their transformation. He's harsh, sarcastic, and sometimes even cruel. But he also fosters a twisted camaraderie that makes the men bond under his command. This movie brims with action and spectacle, especially during the climactic assault, but it also leaves you questioning the fine line between necessity and brutality. Marvin's role here demonstrates his knack for adding a philosophical edge to a straightforward action narrative. He's both the tormentor and the mentor, embodying a type of war-weary cynicism that resonates long after the credits roll. If you love a film where moral shades of gray collide with explosive warfare, The Dirty Dozen is a classic that never goes out of style. It was a box office hit that influenced the way ensemble war movies were made for decades, and Marvin's performance is key to its enduring success. Finally, we arrive at the number 1 spot, Point Blank, 1967. This neo-noir masterpiece captures Lee Marvin in one of his most iconic roles, as Walker, a man out for revenge after being double-crossed and left for dead. But it's not your typical vengeance story. Point Blank is surreal, stylish, and psychologically gripping. Much of that atmosphere hinges on Marvin's performance. He speaks little, but his presence is enough to make every scene crackle with tension. It's almost as if Walker is a phantom gliding through the criminal underbelly of Los Angeles, single-minded in his pursuit of the money he's owed and the betrayal he can't let go. Have you ever watched a film that feels like a fever dream, yet still hits you with stark realism? Point Blank achieves exactly that, thanks to the innovative direction by John Boorman. The movie juggles flashbacks, echoing gunshots, and disorienting camera angles to mirror Walker's fractured psyche. And Lee Marvin, with his trademark glare and coiled intensity, grounds it all. He becomes an avatar of vengeance, relentless, unstoppable, and possibly more spirit than man. Critics and filmmakers often cite Point Blank as a major influence on modern crime cinema. Its depiction of a lone anti-hero tearing through a corrupt system paved the way for countless revenge thrillers. But none of them quite capture the hypnotic, almost existential aura that Marvin brings to his role. When people talk about Lee Marvin's greatest moments on film, Point Blank usually tops the list, and for good reason. It's a lean, haunting exploration of payback and identity that only someone with Marvin's life experience and gravitas could have pulled off so convincingly. And there you have it, our countdown of the top 10 best movies of Lee Marvin. From World War II battlegrounds to comedic westerns, and from gritty train yards to neo-noir cityscapes, Lee Marvin was an actor whose hardened gaze hinted at the depths beneath. Each role offered a different shade of his complex persona, sometimes morally ambiguous, sometimes darkly funny, but always compelling. He didn't just play tough guys, he inhabited them, infusing each character with a sense of reality that only someone who had truly lived on the edge could bring. But beyond the grit and the gunplay, Marvin's filmography also serves as a lens through which we can glimpse the evolving landscape of American cinema in the mid-20th century. He worked with legends like John Ford and Sam Fuller, tackling themes as diverse as lawlessness, honor, despair, and redemption. Whether he was singing and stumbling through a comedic frontier or silently stalking a traitorous partner through the neon-lit streets, Marvin always left his audience feeling that he had something genuine to say about war, about survival, about the human capacity for both cruelty and compassion. It's this versatility that ensures Lee Marvin's legacy endures. Even decades after his passing, new generations of movie buffs continue to discover the raw power of his performances. Maybe it's the faint glimmer of hurt in his eyes, or the quiet rasp of his voice that suggests he's seen it all. Whatever it is, Lee Marvin remains one of the most magnetic figures to ever grace the silver screen. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Lee Marvin's best movies, don't forget to hit that like button. Let us know in the comments which of these films left the biggest impression on you. Maybe there's another Lee Marvin classic we didn't include that you feel deserves the spotlight. Be sure to share your thoughts. And if you're hungry for more cinematic countdowns and discussions, subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell. We've got plenty more movie gems to uncover, so stay tuned for our next exciting countdown. Thank you for watching, and until next time, keep exploring the incredible world of film.